Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavala Giri Vadadari Gopi Janavala Giri Vadadari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavala Bhagiri Vadadari Gopi Janavala Bhagiri Vadadari O Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Hey Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana O Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari O Gopi Janavala Bhagiri Vadadari Hey Gopi Janavala Bhagiri Vadadari O Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Hey Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Kala Chanji Radha Kala Chanji Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraj Gacharya Astotara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Shlesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraj Gacharya Astotara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Nanta Koti Vaishnavadindiki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Premse Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrindaki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Shri Vrindavan Dhama Ki Shri Navadvip Devi Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki Harinam Sankirtana Ki Shri Hat Mridanga Ki Shadam Distribution Ki All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Do we have a microphone for other people to read some of these verses, or? So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 12, text 17 through 30. O King, I shall now describe the qualifications for a vanaprastha, one who has retired from family life. By rigidly following the rules and regulations for the vanaprastha, one can easily be elevated to the upper planetary system known as Maharloka.
A person in the vanaprastha life should not eat grains grown by tilling of the fields. He should not eat grains that have grown without tilling of the field but are not fully ripe. Nor should a vanaprastha eat grains cooked in fire. Indeed, he should only eat fruit ripened by the sunshine.
A vanaprastha should prepare cakes to be offered in sacrifice from fruits and grains grown naturally in the forest. When he obtains some new grains, he should give up his old stock of grains.
A vanaprastha should prepare a church cottage or take shelter of the cave in a mountain only to keep the sacred fire. But he should personally practice enduring snowfall, wind, fire, rain, and the shining of the sun.
The vanaprastha should wear matted locks of hair on his head and let his body hair, nails and moustache grow. He should not cleanse his body of dirt. He should keep a water pot, deerskin and rod, wear the bark of a tree as a covering, and use garments colored like fire.
Being very thoughtful, a vanaprastha should remain in the forest for 12 years, 8 years, 4 years, 2 years, or at least 1 year. He should behave in such a way that he will not be disturbed or troubled by too much austerity.
When because of disease or old age, one is unable to perform his prescribed duties for advancement in spiritual consciousness or study of the Vedas, he should practice fasting, not taking any food.
He should properly place the fire element in his own self, and in this way give up bodily affinity, by which one thinks the body to be oneself or one's own. One should gradually merge the material body into the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and sky.
A sober, self-realized person who has full knowledge should merge the various parts of the body in their original sources. The holes in the body are caused by the sky. The process of breathing is caused by the air. The heat of the body is caused by fire. And semen, blood, and mucus are caused by water. The hard substances like skin, muscle, and bone are caused by earth. In this way, all the constituents of the body are caused by various elements, and they should be merged again into those elements.
Thereafter, the object of speech, along with the sense of speech, the tongue, should be bestowed upon fire. Craftsmanship and the 2 hands should be given to the demigod Indra. The power of movement and legs should be given to Lord Vishnu. Sensual pleasure along with the genitals should be bestowed upon Prajapati. The rectum with the power of evacuation should be bestowed in its proper place unto Mrityu. The oral instrument along with sound vibration should be given to the deities presiding over the directions. The instrument of touch along with the sense objects of touch should be given to Vayu. Form with the power of sight should be bestowed upon the sun. The tongue, along with the demigod Varuna, should be bestowed upon water. And the power of smell, along with the 2 Ashvini Kumaras, demigods, should be bestowed upon the earth.
The mind, along with all material desires, should be merged in the moon demigod. All the subject matters of intelligence, along with the intelligence itself, should be placed in Lord Brahma. False ego, which is under the influence of the material modes of nature, and which induces one to think, I am this body, and everything connected with this body is mine, should be merged along with the material activities. In Rudra, the predominating deity of false ego, material consciousness, along with the goal of thought, should be merged in the individual living being, and the demigods acting under the modes of material nature should be merged along with the perverted living being into the supreme being. The earth should be merged in water, water in the brightness of the sun, this brightness into the air into the sky into the false ego into the total material energy into the unmanifested ingredients, the pradhana feature of the material energy, and at last the ingredient feature of material manifestation into the supersoul.
When all the material designations have thus merged into the respective material elements, the living beings, who are all ultimately completely spiritual, being one in quality with the Supreme Being, should cease from material existence as flames cease when the wood in which they are burning is consumed. When the material body is returned to its various material elements, only the spiritual being remains. This spiritual being is Brahman and is equal in quality with Parabrahman.
Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 7th canto, 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Perfect Society for Spiritual Classes. Now we'll go to the verse 24. Is that right? Atman agnin samaropya Sanyasyaham mamatmatam Arneshu neshat samyak Sangatam tu yatarhataha Atmanagnin samaropya Sanyasyaham mamatmatam Karaneshu nayaset samyak Sangatam tu yatarhataha. Let's do this together. Atmani, in oneself. Agnin, samyarpya, properly placing. Sanyasya, giving up. Aham, false identity. Mama, false conception. Atmatam, of the bodily being oneself or one's own. Karaneshu, in the 5 elements that cause the material body. Nasyat, one should merge. Samyak, completely. Sangatam, combination. 2, but. Yata, arhata, as it befits. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. He should properly place the fire element in his own self, and in this way give up bodily affinity, by which one thinks the body to be one's self or one's own. One should gradually merge the material body into the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and sky. Purport. The body is an effect of a cause, namely the 5 material elements, earth, water, fire, air, and sky. In other words, one should know perfectly well that the material body is nothing but a combination of the 5 elements. This knowledge constitutes merging of the material body and the 5 material elements. Merging into Brahman in perfect knowledge means understanding perfectly that one is not the body, but a spirit soul. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So he should properly place the fire element in his own self, and in this way give up bodily affinity, by which one thinks the body to be oneself or one's own. One should gradually merge the material body into the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and sky. So here we're continuing Narada Muni's talks with Yudhishthira Maharaj. And this section is a scientific or an elaborate description of what one should do in the Vanaprastha stage. I think, anybody here in the Vanaprastha stage? Prabhupada Priya, I like your dreadlocks and tree bark. Starry, possibly, in a sense, right? So yeah, so the whole Vedic paradigm is to get off the bodily concept of life, right? Sometimes we may get caught up, like when they say that one phrase that you can't see the trees through the forest, or you can't see the forest through the trees, I mean. So sometimes, like if you were to read this verse, somebody may think, well, how am I going to practice that? Or, what's the point of it all? You may get caught up in the, what do I really wear tree bark? Do I grow dreadlocks? Do I just eat? Like that one verse where it said, don't eat grains grown in the field, don't eat grains not grown in the field. Basically, it was like, don't eat. It was like, just eat fruit ripened by the sun. So sometimes, like in the biblical terminology, they say that we may know the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law. So if we see this purport, just like this verse, it's very intricate, right? Like you should properly place the fire element in his own self. What would you do? How would you figure that out? So this is for, like everything in spiritual instructions, we need guidance. And we need to know how to apply things according to time, place, and circumstance. So Prabhupada, what struck me in this verse, in the purport, Prabhupada says, in other words, one should know perfectly well that the material body is nothing but a combination of 5 elements. Bas. Prabhupada just clears it up. One sentence, right? And then he says, this knowledge itself, it doesn't say itself, but this knowledge constitutes merging of the material body and the 5 elements. And merging into Brahman in perfect knowledge means understanding perfectly that one is not the body, but a spirit soul. So this is like, in one sense, this is the first step in spiritual life, but it's also the ultimate step, right? Some of us have been practicing Krishna consciousness for decades, but I speak for myself, I may not be off the bodily concept of life, right? Because we're for so many millions and millions of lifetimes, we've been identifying as the body. Now I think I'm a man. Previously I may have thought I was Indian, a woman, a demigod, an animal. Whatever the external reality is, we're in illusion. Maya means that which is not, right? So we're thinking we're the body. Then spiritual life, first lesson, you're not the body. But in what's intricate in the verse here, it says not only are you not the body, but the body's not even yours. Right? That takes it a step further. It says in the verse, by which So you should do these things to understand that the body is not oneself or one's own. So if we look at it if we step back and look at the reality, what is the body made of? And we're having a science class here. Raseshri, what are the 5 material elements? Do you remember? Awesome. Yeah, so the body is made up of these different material elements, but we're not the material elements. We're not skin or bones or the DNA or however you want to break it down, the atoms. We're the conscious self. And wherever there's consciousness, that means there's the soul. And the soul is part and parcel of Krishna. Mame Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. That every living entity is my eternal parts and parcels, Krishna says. So what's nice about Bhakti Yoga, about the process of sadhana, is that we're positively engaged in activities that revive our spiritual identity, potentially. And that's what, the whole morning program is about. That's what reading Bhagavatam is about. That's what chanting japa is about. That's what doing service is about. That's what taking prasadam is about. And taking prasadam is a way to also nourish the body, but also be reminded of the higher taste, reminded of our true identity as an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotion. So, yeah, right here, like does anybody remember all those intricate ways of how to merge this into this? We read through it so fast, but that's like it's a way to get off the bodily concept of life in a different time, in a different age. And I don't even think Yudhisthira Maharaj practiced this. He didn't, sit down and mentally think, okay, I have to merge the earth element of my body into the totality of earth, and it got so subtle, right? I have to merge my thoughts. What does it say? Along with the material activities in root to the predominating duty of the false material consciousness, along with the goal of thought, should be merged into the individual living being. Then each one gets subtler and subtler. And the demigods acting under the modes of material nature should be merged along with the perverted living being into the supreme being. So it's very elaborate and intricate. And so in a sense is Bhakti Yoga, but Prabhupada said it's simple for the simple, right? That even a child can practice it. Because we don't so much just micromanage, so to speak, and totally hone in on our bodily concept of life. No, we don't. Like this is what this is. This is like a total scientific zoom in how to get off the bodily concept of life from every minute detail of the misconception. But rather than doing that, Prabhupada, just like I was saying, the whole Vedic paradigm is to have an acharya, to have a mentor, to have guidance, to see how to apply things according to time, place, and circumstance. And Prabhupada has given us, just like if we see in his Vanapras stage, he didn't really he didn't delineate, okay, you should do this exactly in a Vanapras stage, you should do this. He mainly stressed the positive activities of devotional service. Engage ourselves in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So just like when people take initiation, they would say, I vow not to do this, not to do that, and I vow to chant 16 rounds a day. And Prabhupada said minimum, right? Because actually we're meant to chant all the time, Kirtaniya Sadahari. So this chanting, why all the time? Because it gets our consciousness off ourselves. It's just like a lot of teenage kids, they can spend hours looking in the mirror, checking their hair, looking at their face, adjusting their outfit. They could be in the bathroom for hours because they're self-absorbed, and we as adults, we may not spend the time looking in the mirror, but in our minds the same thing is going on. It's just we're mulling over, going over ourself, maybe our extended self. We're thinking, if it's not directly just our body, then we're thinking of our mental so-called identity. Whereas chanting Hare Krishna is meant to give the attention, give our energy, switch the focal point, right? So we're thinking, okay, now I'm not thinking of me. A lot of times even we're chanting, we're thinking, Krishna, Krishna, please do this for me. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Ram, Ram, please help me, me. The me in our mind is more prominent than Krishna. So that's what this Vanaprastha stage is all about, is to, why do so many different things? To be accustomed to tolerating the different external elements of the snow, the sun, only eating this, only eating bark. Is the whole idea is less on me. Just like they say, humility is not thinking less of oneself, but thinking of oneself less. So this is the idea, to get off the bodily concept of life. Instead of going through each element and merging it within the total element, we change the focal point to Krishna. Krishna, how is Krishna dressed today? How can I please Krishna? How can I please Krishna's devotees? And in that way to be absorbed more and more. Just like the Vanaprastha stage, each stage is understanding the material entanglement according to the time, place, and circumstance, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. Okay, that's understanding the external. Okay, we realize we're not the body. Well, we may not realize. We theoretically apply that we're not the body, and then these different social and spiritual orders are ways to understand and practice, okay, I'm not at the realized stage, but I have to apply my energy in such a way that it, according to my psychophysical nature, according to my stage of life, according to time, place, and circumstance, we try to apply life's activities so that we get off the bodily concept of life and we act more on the spiritual. And then that gets more and more detailed as we make progress in spiritual life. So the whole scheme of things is to not just get off the bodily, because once you get off, it's not that I'm not, like in Prabhupada would say that some spiritual circles, they say neti, right? It's not this, it's not that. So the bodily, getting off the bodily concept of life, that's what we're not. That's the negative, so to speak. But Prabhupada gives the positive, okay? And in a general way, in a philosophical general way, okay, I'm not the body. Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnara Nityadas. I'm the Krishnara Nityadas. I'm the eternal servant of Krishna. And then spiritual life is meant to hone in. Okay, I'm what? As we make natural progress, then affinities for certain services will arise. They're meant to arise. And, okay, I'm not this, but I am this. I am the eternal servant in general. And then as we develop and mature, then, okay, I'm not in Shantaras, I'm not in Dashiras, or I am, then we... Main thing is that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said our Siddha Pranali is Trinadapi Sunichena Todoriva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari, that this is our Swarup. This is our form. For now, that's good enough for all of us. Most of us aren't at the elevated stage of honing in on, okay, I serve in this Kunj of Vrindavan under these servants of the servants of Krishna. So there's some thoughts. I just like to end with one, like last verse that came to mind in this connection, where Lord Chaitanya said that Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayur Das Das Anudas, that I'm not a Grihasta, I'm not a Brahmachari, I'm not a Vanaprastha, I'm not a sannyasi, but what am I? I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis, of the servant of the gopis. So, any thoughts or reflections?
Thank you for the class, Prabhu. I just wanted to ask a question. You mentioned, when we spend most of the time even thinking about Krishna, we're thinking about me. And, so when we truly surrender, isn't that also a selfish motive, but for good? Like, we are also thinking about ourselves only, right? That Krishna can take us in his shelter.
No, I don't think that's not fully surrender. That may be, it's just like when in Bhagavad Gita where it says 4 kinds of pious people approach me. One who's in distress, one who's in need of money, one who's inquisitive, these different things. So it may be a part of surrender. And also, one intricate thing is that when we fully surrender, it's not that we don't think of ourselves at all, because we're part and parcel of Krishna, right? So we're part of surrendering. But yeah, I think the more, it's like, when you say, when we fully surrender, it's always good to have an example. Just like when you hear nice classes, when devotees make their points, a lot of times they give examples from Chaitanya Leela, right? Or they give examples from the Bhagavatam. So when you see an example, okay, this is what it's like to be fully surrendered. Let's say Prahlad, let's pick one in your mind.
Prahlad Maharaj.
Yeah, Prahlad Maharaj. He was, okay, whether I live, whether I die, I'm Krishna's. So that's fully surrendered. But yeah, there's a long way to go for fully. And then even then, it's ever increasing. So Krishna's not complicated and not a demanding person. He's a loving, playful, youthful, who's reciprocating with loving exchanges. So any sentiment, Krishna's unlimitedly ready to reciprocate. So even not being fully surrendered, Krishna's just happy to reciprocate. Any little inkling, it's just like, a kid is like always ready to play. Krishna's like, okay, let's go. You approach me with one sentiment, one small sentiment, one tiny turn, like they say that now we're bahirmukha. I don't know that shloka where our faces are turned away from Krishna, but any just slight idea, well, maybe there's a God, maybe I have a relation, and just that little thing, Krishna within the heart, give you inspiration how to go deeper, how to surrender more. So yeah, I mean, and a certain level, like when you go to higher levels, then you offer what you like to Krishna. Like in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this Jagadananda, I think, who made that oil. Who was that? Jagadananda? And he got upset. He wanted to offer sandalwood oil for Lord Chaitanya's massage. And Lord Chaitanya, being a sannyasi, and also just for they have a certain relationship, he didn't accept it. And the devotee got angry and smashed it on the floor. And then went and sulked. I forgot who he is in Krishna Lila. Satyabhama or huh? So yeah, because in the relationship in Krishna Lila, they have that kind of relationship. So then he wouldn't eat for days, and Lord Chaitanya had to go, and they. So, yeah, I'm fully surrender. That's. I don't think we need to worry whether we're involved or we're still adding ourselves in that equation. Now we just take steps where we are. Give a little more. Ask our mentors around us, where can I go deeper in my selfless service? That's the idea, you know. At our stage now, we can increase a lot of giving our attention to Krishna more. Especially in japa, that's the japa. That's why I use that example. The japa time is like, okay, this time, okay, when it's like our concentrated time to just give our attention to Krishna. We try to make it so that we don't have distractions. So the earlier in the morning we get our japa in, the less, the mind is thinking what you have to do for yourself or your family for the day. The mind, before the sun kicks in, goes up, then the thoughts aren't as forceful of, okay, I got to get active for doing things for my body, doing things for my family's body, doing this for my mind. No, it's a more suitable time for giving our mental, emotional, spiritual energy to Krishna. And we're connected. So yeah, you're right. It's the ultimate, just like in Krishna book, I think they say the only reason you have affection or attachment to others is because they're connected to your body, right? Because we think we're the body, so then we have more attachment and affection for those that are closer in our body, our spouse, our kids, our family. Like they say, blood is thicker than water kind of idea. But then why are we attached to our body? Because our body, the soul is in the body. Why are we attached to our soul? Because the soul is part and parcel of Krishna. So that goes all the way back. So yeah, the more we're change the focus, then in a sense, yeah, but then it gets intricate too. The more you want to give, if you're thinking it's for yourself, then you'll see that even spiritual desires, if it's not for Krishna's pleasure, then you won't feel the satisfaction. It's the nature of service. When it's more selfless, then you get more satisfaction, because that's the nature of the soul. Others would like to share?
Hare Krishna. I was just reflecting on this whole kind of timeline of life, and identity, and how it's always changing. It's kind of like what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that dehi nosmin yada dehe komaram yovadam jara tata dehantara praptir. So just like in the same way our bodies are physically changing, we're going from childhood to youth to old age, and then the soul is leaving. So it's like when you're a child, you're just totally into being a kid, doing your kid stuff, playing and learning, and then you get into adolescence and you totally relate to, I'm a youth, I'm whatever the lingo is, and the fashions, and that you identify with your generation. And then when you get older, it's like, yeah, I'm an adult, I need to be responsible. It's like, and so the same thing in ashrams, I'm just reflecting back on when I was a brahmacharini living in the ashram at the temple in London in my 20s. It was like, yeah, brahmacharini, going out in book distribution every day, getting up at 2:30 in the morning and all this stuff. And just totally gung-ho, And then in Grihastha ashram, it's like, all right, kids, husband, school, just like totally into it, identifying very strongly, like, I am the mother of these children, I am the wife of this man. And and then it all just changes, Now Vanaprastha is like, okay. And each time, at least in my life, every time I changed ashram, I also ended up moving to a different country. It's like Brahmacharini in this country, Grihastha in this country, Vanaprastha in another country. So I feel like it's very helpful, for our spiritual advancement, because we learn to understand that all these identities are just temporary and we're moving through them, and they're helpful for a certain time, but then after some time they stop serving us in the way that they're meant to, and we need to move on. So in the same way, this body, it's like it's serving us, mentalities that we have. And then you look at, our acharyas and how they're kind of like oscillating between different identities. Like I was thinking of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how on the one hand he's a judge, or he's going and doing his work, he's being responsible in his occupation, and then another side he's a father, he's got all these kids, and he's training them in Krishna consciousness, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and then another hand he's like a preacher, he's going out, he's like writing, he's opening temples, leading up the Namahat initiative. And then another hand, he's going into his personal internal space where he's like, Radha and Krishna, or, I'm a servant of Rupa Manjari, and waving the chamara and whatever, in his songs he brings out these deeper reflections and aspirations for divine service. So it's like even we pass through these different identities, and even at any one given point, we are moving through various multiple identities, So it's just interesting. I was just reflecting on it. It's just interesting, and also how it's helpful, because we realize that, okay, eventually we'll come to who we really are, but in the meantime we're just playing roles in a drama, and nothing to get too attached to or upset about, because it's going to change.
Oh, thank you. Baladev, you wanted to say something?
Thank you, Gauranga Prabhu. A very hard topic to discuss for speaker, because most of our ISKCON devotees there have a multi connection with a different thing, but this is Prabhupada only mentioned as body and soul. It's a very hard topic. But one time Giriraj Swami Maharaj was giving class long time ago, Besasan. So on that point he said that once in Mumbai, one doctor, I forgot the doctor name, Mishra, doctor, what Srila Prabhupada always did argument. So he bought us some blankets for the devotees they can use in ashram. So one time he saw that they're not taking care properly those blankets, just dump inside in the corner. And that person was got upset because he bought it and he wants to use it. And then that time Prabhupada asked him why he got upset. He said, I pay money, I bought them to they can use it for, but they don't care, they're just throwing here and there. So Srila Prabhupada replied to him, see, you saying about liberation, from bodily liberation, you're trying hardly to do it. Our devotees already liberated. They don't care for bodily things, anything requirement, this blanket been thrown out, they don't care. So the point is, Prabhupada says, Dehasmriti nahijar sangsar bandhan kahatar. The who has not bodily any requirement, they ignore. So they haven't no any bodily identification, anything. Even if they're the body, they no need to identify, I'm soul, I'm body. They already came to the stage, the bodily requirement they're ignoring. So that shows this, that they're already achieved more than liberation stage.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mhm. Nice example. Manjari Gopika?
Hey Krishna, so nice to hear class from you again. Thank you so much. I was thinking, it took me some time to formulate this question, but in the 11th canto, chapter 18, it is more explicitly described the austerities that one in Vanaprastha should do in that time period. And one of the things is in the summer, the Vanaprastha is supposed to stand next to a blazing fire, and in the winter they have to stand in freezing water up to their necks, and they're supposed to do this for the remainder of their life, and then they'll get elevated to, a heavenly planet. But in that purport, it's a text 4, Prabhupada says that this is for one who engages in sense gratification. So he says his disciple, one who engages in sense gratification must perform severe penances at the end of life to counteract his sinful hedonistic activities. A devotee of the Lord, however, naturally develops Krishna consciousness and need not subject himself to radical penances. If one is worshiping the Lord properly, what is the use of severe penances? And if one is not properly worshiping the Lord, what is the use of severe penances? So, and then I was thinking about how yesterday we heard about how brahmacharis were originally instructed to live, also with the tree bark and matted locks, and that's not what our acharyas have done. Instead, they've taken the essence of that austerity and translated it into something much more simpler and practical. So really, I'm trying to figure out what exactly are the instructions for one who is to take Vanaprastha in this society. Is it just simply living separately? Like, what are the other austerities in that for this day and age?
Well, my understanding is that if you look at Srila Prabhupada's service or starting the whole society, it was when he first met his spiritual master said, "You are an English-speaking person. Please share the message of Lord Chaitanya in the speaking language in the Western world," right? That was like before he even got up. He paid his obeisances. He got his life mission, so to speak. So, the essence of what Prabhupada was doing is fulfilling that order, sharing the message of Lord Chaitanya with the world. So, to that effect, he started temples. To that effect, he translated the Bhagavatam. He translated so many books, and he stressed, I was like, what is our job is to assist our guru in their service to their guru, right? That's the whole mood. So to stress the service spirit, what is what the Mahavakya? That phrase is like, what's the Mahavakya of the Bhagavatam? Or what's the, Mahavakya, what's the quintessential, or what's the topmost thing that should be done? Just like the Bhagavatam itself, it says, okay, the questions of the sage of Naimisharanya was like, okay, what is the duty of every person, especially for somebody who's about to die? Okay, so what is the duty of every person in ISKCON, especially for the Vanaprastha? So the Vanaprastha means that now you're honing in more what you've practiced as a grihastha, what you've practiced as a brahmachari or brahmacharini, what you practiced and what you were absorbed in trying to do. Now you have more time, potentially, hopefully, to hone in on sadhana, to hone in on service. So Prabhupada's main mood was absorb Krishna consciousness ourselves. So the Vanaprastha in ISKCON, they should, maybe make more, now I'm going to chant certain amount of rounds more. Now I have more time, now I can read a little more. And then also specifically, now I have more time to dedicate to the mission. The main mission is to share Krishna consciousness with the world, right? And whatever, there's so many ways. So all these things, they supersede the external activities of what a Vanaprastha does, to go to the forest. Prabhupada didn't encourage that. He did encourage farm communities. So, okay, now that I'm a Vanaprastha, now that my kids are grown up and I don't have to take care of them with most of my energy, then, okay, let me take a project up. Let me take a farm project. Let me start a temple, these things that, like they have these wristbands, what would Jesus do? We're going to have what would Prabhupada, like you could go through a mental practice. Okay, you go and you pay your obeisances to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, my kids are grown up. Now I have time to be more instrumental in your service. What should I do? One time I asked one Mother Nidra, she's a very special devotee, Prabhupada disciple in Denver, Colorado. When you don't know what to do, you have a choice of 2 different services. How to know what Krishna wants you to do? Both are good, but maybe Krishna wants you to do something. She said, write it on a note and put it before the deities. That was her explanation. Write the 2 options on a note, and then put it in one of Prabhupada's books, and then just pick one of the pieces of paper, and then, okay, then go ahead and do that. I mean, now we have our mentors and our gurus, so yeah, everything should be done in devotional life with guidance. And I would say, yeah, hone in on the mood. What is Prabhupada's mood of applying sadhana bhakti, of applying these spiritual variegated instructions? Hone in on that for yourself and apply it. Like Prabhupada, to me, Prabhupada was a mission man, right? Prabhupada was never, okay, now it's bhajan time. Although maybe that's as needed. But Prabhupada's main thrust of activities was, okay, how to create temples, how to create restaurants, how to create schools, how to create farm projects. Even when he was passing away, he was wanting to come back to America, come back to the West, right? Why? Because I want to encourage my devotees more. I want to give more Krishna consciousness to others. So yeah, there's a verse in maybe it's a purport, maybe it's a verse also, but Prabhupada says the best way to control the mind is to be constantly thinking of how to do good to others. So Prabhupada has given us what that good is in practical terms. Books, prasadam, we got tangible, okay, how many books have you done? Prabhupada book scores, and how many books have we done? How many plates of prasadam? These kind of, So the more we're absorbed in the mood and the mission of trying to assist Prabhupada in fulfilling his service to his guru, that is real service and real absorption, and more than Vanaprastha. Like Prabhupada said, my grihastas are sannyasis, or more than. Anything else? Yes? I have cartels for you, by the way.
Sweet, thank you. Can I read notes? Do I have time?
Yeah.
It's okay. Okay. I've been very enthralled. Thank you for teaching. So please correct me if I'm wrong in any place. These are just notes that I took. Atmani in oneself, properly placing the 5 elements of the material body into, this is a separate note, into Brahman, merging into Brahman. And perfect knowledge is understanding one is not the body, but spirit, soul. And then I drew earth, water, fire, air, and sky symbols. Can't see the forest through the trees, caught up in the details. We may know the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law. How does one place the fire element in one's own self? The first step is the ultimate step. We are not this body, we are spirit, soul. The body is not one's self or one's own. did not literally sit down and practice merging material consciousness and the goal of thought into Brahman, the self-absorption merging into focus on pleasing Krishna, the whole idea less on me, what we are not into what we are. The internal servant of Krishna through serving his servants process, not this, now this. Affinity arises for certain services. Example, healing, gardening, writing, facilitating. I'm not a grihasta, brahmachari, also identifying with the body. I am a servant of the servant. Surrendering is not to never think of self. There is the self that is not the body, the spirit soul, through devotional service. Don't worry about orchestrating the equation. Take steps where you are to focus attention on Krishna more, because time and attention is Krishna's love language. The sun and the moon do not force themselves to be on their schedule. They just do what is in their nature, the next right thing, and at some point there becomes a moonlit night on the water and silence of Krishna. There becomes the sunset streaking the sky with his brushstrokes. We are not this body, we are divine art, only seen perfectly through his eyes. The closer I become to him, the more time I spend with him, the more and more accurately I will come to see myself through natural progression, the eternal spirit soul, in all its individuality made for connection and loving union. Forcing austerities versus natural development of Krishna consciousness, the essence of the goal of prescribed austerities is found in devotional service and loving relationship with Krishna through loving and serving his devotees, honing in on the mood behind the surface versus trying to force the fruits of devotional service to appear.
Thank you. I think that was even better. I think you added your realizations in there too. Thank you everybody for your company. Have a wonderful day. Srimad Bhagavatam ki.